I just want to say, for me, this has always been one of the most fascinating things about technology, is the way in which it allows us to actually ask new questions and to question many of the things that we take for granted, or make visible things that we take for granted. So blockchain is one of those things that get relentlessly hyped, and there's a lot of speculation, and there's a lot of bullshit in that market, for sure. But as a technology, as a philosophical concept, it really allows us to ask new questions about how we organize many of our systems. So back to Genevieve's point. So, and I appreciate that you guys are asking some of those questions, and we're having discussions about this, which are really fascinating. Before we move on, I want to give credit again. And I'm going to introduce Kellie, but I want to point to Sandra here. Because this is a team sport, this is a team effort. And Sandra has been instrumental, again, as one of those people who does not take for granted either boundaries or rules. She's set up, in the last 7 years, Sydney Business Insights, a unit inside the business school that has made it its mission to basically engage just about everyone in conversations that, again, are very disrespectful of the boundaries that we often construct. And has, for me, been one of those influential people, probably the most academically and in many ways the most important person to think with and to challenge me and to bring to life some of those ideas. And we've done this on the podcast, and yes, 300 recordings, 300 episodes now over the past 6 years is testimony to sort of the thinking that can happen when interesting people come together. And we had many guests on the podcast, and one of those guests is Kellie Nuttall, who I'm going to introduce now to you, because Kellie is also one of those people who tries to be very unconventional and tries to play with or disrespect conventions. Kellie is Deloitte's lead partner for artificial intelligence in Australia. And by the way, it's a testimony to Disrupt that we're putting KPMG and Deloitte in the same session, because we do not care. We are Switzerland here. We're just interested in those ideas. And Kellie is really passionate about artificial intelligence. And Kellie and Sandra's team and myself, we've been working over the past few weeks and months with that realization that artificial intelligence might be ready for the world, but the world is not necessarily ready for artificial intelligence. And there is a deficit in Australia and in the world around understanding artificial intelligence. And so, please.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Oh my God, I have not worn heels since COVID, and my feet feel like shoes feel like they're filling up with blood right now, but it's awkward. Anyhow, so yeah, as Kai said, I lead the artificial intelligence agenda at Deloitte. I've been at Deloitte 10 years, but my career didn't start in AI by any means. A little bit like Genevieve, I failed maths in high school. I was not very good at maths. I decided to go to uni. My parents encouraged me to be a hairdresser. They said, "You're very creative. Why don't you actually not go to university and be a hairdresser?" I went to uni and I did psychology because I thought I want to get as far away from mathematics as I can. Turns out the joke was on me because there's a stat subject every single semester in every psychology year that you do. And over time, what I learned was actually when I started to apply maths in a real-world university context, I fell a bit more in love with it. It clicked for me. It made a bit more sense. I also, at the same time, so as my love of stats kind of went up, my love of listening to people's problems and the idea of that future kind of went down. And so I went into a PhD and I specialised in decision-making, the psychology of decision-making and biases and heuristics, sort of what nudge psychology is now. And I lectured advanced stats all the way through uni. So my mum was, very surprised at that outcome. And then I went into the real world and got a job and have worked basically for the last sort of 15, 20 years in the area of helping organisations, whether it's government or large corporates, do more with data, do more with analytics. And I guess I'm not a techie. I'm someone who appreciates maths and statistics. But for me, it's all around how you use that to make better decisions and solve problems. So, and how exciting is AI? Because when you think about the clients I work with, and I can tell them every day, how amazing and fulfilling your lives are going to be when AI is going to do this to your lives. And it's it's a kind of testament to like why Hollywood has absolutely like created a monster for us in the world of getting Australian business and government excited about AI, because we are definitely not here. Where we are actually though is when you think about all of the different ways that AI is already here in our day-to-day lives. You don't think about it as, oh, that was a great algorithm that helped me search my photos for my dog, for my daughter's, child assignment, school assignment that she had to like upload. That was a great personalized marketing campaign that was fed off algorithms. Like you just sort of go, oh, that's quite helpful. That's good. I appreciate not having to drive with a Refidex on my lap anymore. You're probably some of you are too young for that, but Google Maps has been a bit of a game changer. And so it's already here. So when we talk to our clients that we partner with, we're often saying like these technologies are already here in your day-to-day lives. They add immense value. Where could you be thinking about applying them in the workplace? And so the other thing is there's this, when we talk about artificial intelligence, it's an umbrella term. So there's a heap of different technologies that sit underneath that. And they essentially, the best way of thinking about them is they help you analyze things, whether that is, data, audio stuff, vision, or it helps you act. It helps you automate something, create content, whether that's speech or written. So it's when you actually combine these technologies that you unlock the power. So if you think about an autonomous vehicle, it's constantly taking that, it's analysing that visionary information, it's calculating what it should do, and it's automating. So it's how these technologies come together in discrete set of human-like skills that actually deliver value. And they'll do that at a scale, speed, and precision that humans often can't. They can't often change out of the lane though. So Terminator is not here yet because they're very good at the thing navigating to work with Google Maps. If you ask it to diagnose your mole for skin cancer, it's not going to do it. So think about it like that. So this is how we talk to organisations around, think about the problems you're trying to solve. And these are the 6 most common applications of artificial intelligence we see in the business and government world. And everyone tends to over-focus, I think, on how it's used to reduce costs. And it's a bit of a lost opportunity because when you actually think about some of the other things like rapid insight, the ability to actually simulate worlds and actually play out and predict things to get a much better and quicker insight on something now, like that's a game changer. When you think about fueling, I love the idea of AI as a new innovation in its own right. So if you think about Uber, it really used AI, an AI-enabled platform to match supply and demand and take a market that was just waiting to be taken from taxis. But it used the same sort of approach to actually create a whole new market that didn't exist with Uber Eats. So how can organisations actually start thinking about for their growth strategy, how do you actually use these to actually create services that have never existed before based on customer needs? And then transformed engagement. Gosh, I used to hear a lot of people whinge to me about, AI is going to steal our jobs and we don't want to put it in our organisations because our workers won't deal with it. Since COVID, it's like the narrative has completely switched. They're like, we can't get enough people now. Do you reckon AI could augment our workforce? And I was like, oh, well, you changed now, have you? But it's actually really good. So when you think about things like mental health backlogs and some of the challenges we're seeing in the healthcare system at the moment, things like digital humans can really help augment that so you've actually got that demand being met in a different way to the traditional supply. And when we do our research, everyone's super excited about it. You talk to any executive, they say, yeah, 61% of them, absolutely, it's going to change our industry. And even more think it's going to change my business because I'm a leader in this. Now, we should get really excited about this because the Australian government's action plan for AI, it forecasts that this could be a $20 trillion industry and economy by 2030 for the AI domain. Now, innovation, if we think about it as a country and wanting to be innovative, we need to be because we're kind of by ourselves, off in the world. We've got a good reason to try and drive some innovation. Our innovation in the past has been digging stuff out of the ground. We could, get a little bit more intelligent now. And so I think of this and I think, gosh, what a really great way to think about how we could drive our economy into the future. However, this is where we're at. So I'm connected to our global colleagues, Deloitte, around the world, and every time they're like, how amazing is it that AI is finally breaking through and it's scaling and industrialising? And I'm like, doo-doo-doo, in Australia. And all the research is coming out basically saying, we're behind. We're behind for a number of reasons. It has impact. It has impact on things like livability in our lives and our economy. And it honestly, I think about it as the next general purpose technology. It's going to transform our lives in the same way that the internet did, and we need to be thinking about that. And so we can't afford to be behind, and there's risks to that. Now, why are we behind? Let me talk about it. So Australia loves a POC, a proof of concept. So if anyone doesn't know what that means clients like to try AI and they do it in a safe little environment where they kind of play whether it could work, and then they high-five themselves because they've said, yeah, we've done AI, but they never put it into production. They never actually use it to operationalize in a real-world system. So it actually doesn't create value, but it creates that idea that we're doing AI. And that's really problematic for a number of reasons, because AI is going to disrupt business. And this is the thing that kind of keeps me up at night in my job all the time, is I think about, when you talk to a telco or a government agency, they look to their left and they look to their right of their traditional agencies or competitors and say, oh, but they're not doing it either, so I'm okay. It's not them that you have to worry about, it's the tech startups. It's the tech startups that are actually going to start doing, they're a technology or an AI company that's going to get into insurance. We saw this with Babylon Health in the UK getting into healthcare and health triaging of diagnostic of, health conditions and things like that. So it's not like, the thing I always say to every organisation is that if you're an AI company, how would you think differently about this, rather than I'm a health company that wants to do AI? And I think the worry I have is that a lot of this innovation will come outside of Australia and take our market, and that's going to have impact on our economy for sure. So in terms of the things blocking it, so these are the things I see most commonly, is that in general, there's a lack of AI strategy. So in terms of 3 and 4 executives we interviewed in our research says that they feel like they're more advanced than their peers in AI. But only 30% of them have an AI strategy. And often they say data strategy is an AI strategy, which is totally different. They don't have leadership around it. So if you do not have a leader that is going to see the value of these technologies in terms of how they're being used in their organisation to transform, and actually it's not just about competitive advantage anymore, it's about staying relevant. I do a lot of training programs with AI for emerging CFOs, emerging CEOs, and it's like, you have to know this technology if you're going to be a great leader in the next 5 to 10 years, if not 2 years. So leadership's really important. The right use cases. So people who, and this kind of goes with the tech-led one as well, we see a lot of people going, computer vision sounds awesome, let's give it a go. It's like, what problem are you trying to solve? Oh, we'll solve that problem because computer vision could solve it. Yeah, I know, but it's not high value. And so you're getting everyone excited about something and then they're like, that didn't do much. So where are the actual really, how do you deliver value as a business to your citizens, stakeholders, shareholders, employees? What are the biggest pain points? And then how could AI help you do that in a different way? So that's really important. Everyone harps on about data quality. So our data's crap, so we can't do AI. Well, if you could actually think about the right problems to solve and they're so important and game-changing for you to solve, I'm pretty sure you'll get funding to go and fix your data quality. And you need to. And those things need to be linked. So where we see organisations fail is they just end up saying, okay, I need to get my data perfect before I even think about AI, but they're not even thinking about how they want to use it. Just think about the first use case you want to solve for and fix the data for that, and then move to the next one, and then move to the next one, and keep showing value. So there's a different way of thinking about it. Lack of talent, and then a big one would be concerns regarding trustworthy AI and AI ethics and bias. So this at the moment, I think because the regs aren't clear on where we stand in Australia yet, there's a lot of organisations just saying, oh, I'm just going to sit back and see what happens there a little bit. The other thing is I think frameworks are incredibly helpful. There's a lot of frameworks that come out around what it means to do trustworthy AI. But if they're on paper, that's really hard to do anything with in the real world. So people, I find organisations struggle to take a framework into execution and action, and how do I actually do that in a responsible way and be accountable for it? So when we actually say, think about this in a holistic way, what do you need to have right? To really get the business value out of AI, you do need to be thinking about this through a whole lot of lenses around having the right AI strategy, but then what are the right use cases that you're solving for? What data sources do you need? Are they internal? Are they external? How are you actually managing that data? Are you thinking about business rules and privacy and security around all of that as well. What capability, like what is the AI capability you need? So don't go invest in computer vision if it's not relevant to your use cases. Do you have the talent and the technology to support that? And then this is the one I think that is probably like, apart from strategy, this is one I get really excited about that most people don't think enough about, which is ultimately we are putting AI now more than ever before in the hands of people who are not technical experts. We're putting them into the hands of traffic center, command center operators and engineers, into call center service, like what's the next best conversation to have. They're not data scientists. So how we design these tools need to be designed and thought about in the exact same way we would design a Google Maps. It's not like, this algorithm will come out like this. You've got to think about what's their decisions. How are they making decisions every day? How am I making their life easier? And they're choosing to use this tool. Now, it actually is really, really hard. And then obviously all the right controls around it. The last thing I just want to touch on, and we're going to talk about this in the 2-hour workshop we have at the end of the day around 2 hours of AI power, is Fluency. So this is a thing that I just, about 2 years ago, we launched our AI Institute and I went on a bit of a roadshow to all the clients going, I'm going to help you do AI transformation. We're going to do all these amazing things. And this is what you need to be thinking about. And they just went, sorry, what's AI? I can spell it. And there's a few things, right? So there are executives. If you think about most leaders, they've been in their roles for a long time. AI has really just become a thing in business in the last couple of years. It used to be analytics, now it's AI. A bit of automation before that. Suddenly, there's two types of leaders. They're either like, I don't really understand it and I'm not going to bother, or I'm not even going to admit I don't understand it. It's just like, But they're not actually making the right decisions because of that. So I actually think we went back to the drawing board and we actually redesigned a whole program around AI fluency. And we say AI fluency, not AI expertise, because you do not need to be an expert in it. You do not need to be technical, but you need to understand, like I said, what are the kind of skills these technologies can do? How do you do it responsibly? And what are the problems that you want to apply it to? And I think that's really, really important. So fluency, and I've been part of conversations around, and I think Genevieve, you were in the room the other day too, where we were talking about the skills and how we get more of these AI skills pumping through the university system. And the problem I have with that is we can have more and more skills, but if we don't have people who understand this technology and create a demand for it, that's a problem too. So I think lifelong learning, and we need to be thinking about how we support leaders in business and government to actually still understand what these technologies are, because they're not going away and you can't stick your head in the sand. So building that fluency is what good leadership in any business is going to look like in the future, I think, around AI. So I will leave it there, but I'm happy to discuss more in our session later this afternoon. But yeah, I think we have such an opportunity in Australia, and I would really encourage you guys to think about it from the issue that we're trying to solve with AI rather than the tech.
Thank you. Cool. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.